Hey, this is Diane from DianeStamps.com, and I've been playing with my digital studio from Stampin' Up for a while now, and it has become my favorite way of scrapbooking, mostly because all I need is my laptop and my imagination and my digital studio. But I was looking at a scrapbooking magazine from Great Britain, and I saw a layout in it that I thought was so beautiful, and it basically was a layout of someone's beautiful daughter, just like mine is. The background was watercolor paper with these rich, beautiful swatches of ink, and they didn't do an ombre technique like I did, but they did have different gradations of shade and opacity with each swath. So I was really excited by that, and I wanted to see immediately if I could replicate this in my digital studio, and of course I could. So I wanted to show you how I did that. I'm not going to show you the whole layout, but I do want to show you how I did the background, because that was the most exciting part for me, was figuring it out and being able to actually use it. I'm in my digital studio right now, and I'm in actually a book that I am working on. I'm just going to open a new page to show you this technique. So the first conundrum I had, the first design feature to figure out, was how to make my background look like watercolor paper. And I figured the easiest way was going to be with some sort of overlay. I love, love, love them. They give so much great texture to the page and to my backgrounds and to images, and that I can't stop buying them. So I went to my global search tool, which is right down here in the bottom right corner. It's a big magnifying glass. In the search box, I just typed overlay, and I have a bunch of overlays. So let's get to natural composition overlays, and you can see there's wood and crumbled up paper and muslin and things like that. I went with number 11. Looks kind of like a paper towel, kind of like a little wrinkly, and to me it looks like a paper towel, and I thought that would be very close to watercolor. However, this is really dark, and so what I wanted to do was to lighten it. So what I over to my design center, and you can see I'm in stamps because this is a stamp, and one of the things I can do with my stamps is to reduce the opacity, and that lightened it up. So I ended up down around number 15, and that gave me enough of the design that it looks like watercolor paper, but it isn't too dark. So now that I figured out how to do watercolor paper look, so the next thing I needed to do was figure out how I was going to do what looked like watercolor washes across this paper. I again went to my design center, and I chose freeform because I know I can create lines and shapes and all kinds of organic structures with this tool. I knew that I could use the brush tool, which would make it makes things look like they've been brushed on. Okay, so I'm adding my brush layer, and I want the watercolor, the faux watercolor paper, to be seen. So I'm not going to pull this all the way to the edge, but I did want to use it as a really good background because I knew I was going to pile a bunch of other stuff on it, including a beautiful picture. So so I created my box. This is roughly the size that I would like, and now I'm going to change the color of my brush. You saw that it was black, and I don't want black swashes. My daughter loves turquoise, and because I wanted something that was dark enough that I could lighten it as I went through for the ombre effect, I used Taken with Teal, and that creates a nice dark base. What I'm going to do is I just start in a corner and just carry this line across, and I try not to make it too perfect, which is easy for me because I don't have steady hands and it'll never be too perfect. But I wanted to just color in this whole thing. So I colored in the whole thing and clicked off of it, and now I've got my swatch of watercolor paint. I'm going to move that down toward the bottom because that's where I want it to be located, because I'm going to go 4 or 5 of these swatches up. But I did not want to have to recreate these over and over again, so I just copied and pasted a new one, and I just moved it away so you can see there are 2 exact new ones. However, I don't want it to look too exact and perfect. So there's a few things I'm going to do each time I add a new layer so that it's not, so that, you know, these, you see how this point and this point are exactly the same. I don't want that look. So first I'm going to mirror there, and then I'm going to go to my opacity and lay it on top of the one that I just created. Add paste again and get myself a new swatch that I can change the shape of and recolor. And it looks like I'm only going to get 4 swatches on here, so I'm going to go back to this middle one and I'm going to go down to 75%. I'm going to just change it a quarter each time. So that means this time I'm going to go to 50% because it started at the beginning. You can copy and paste any one of these shapes additionally. I just did that one. So this one I'm going to flip, and you can see that that point that matches this one just moved to the top. You can flip it and mirror it, and it's completely, you know, so I'll just do that. It's not really a big deal, but you can see where, just like in your normal watercolor, the colors are overlapping and will overlap a bit. And then I have one more swatch to do. And that one, because I was at 50% the last time, is going to 25% in opacity. And you can see that each time it's just a little bit lighter. The lighter it gets, the more you can see the faux watercolor paper behind it, which is an effect that I really like. Back to the original, because I want to show you one of the features around that layout that I really liked was they had taken some ink and run it along the edges of the watercolor paper, and it just soaked in wherever it soaked in, and I wanted to recreate that look as well. And this is how I did it. I went back to my freeform tool and I chose add a brush layer. This time I resized it so that it was the same size as my background paper. And you can see I've got it just with a little bit of white border left because I wanted it to look like the edges were a little crinkly. I did want to change the size because I don't want as much. I really don't need as big a circle. So because I don't know the sizes really well yet, I have to keep coming back so I can see it. Yeah, that's okay. Better this time, so that it's just a little bit, not a ton. You can, you know, some of it can come through a little bit more than others, and I think that looks, you know, it looks kind of random, a little random. But I will admit, I don't want it to look perfect, but I don't want it to look too thick either, because then it really won't look like you've just you know, sort of swiped your finger along the edge with the ink, and that's really what I want. So basically I've shown you how to do that. I don't need to do all 4 sides because I know you can figure it out. That's the technique for digital watercolor. I will say thank you for watching. So I hope you're having an awesome day. DianeStamps.com.